Okay. Okay, I'm back. So, hello everybody. I'm Sudha Jamthe, and you're joining this Career Pivot, our weekly Wednesday. And the topic is your path to AV, your path to autonomous vehicles. And I have a hashtag path to AV. So use that and share as you wish on social networks, and you should be able to come back by the hash path to AV and find back the conversations from social network. So here we go. So in our weekly Wednesday, we've been having conversations on the latest, greatest in AI and autonomous vehicles for a long time. And we did a career pivot on career pivot to AI, followed by a career pivot to autonomous vehicles. So some of you here might have listened in on that session about career pivot to autonomous vehicles. So this one today is going to be different. So previously, I introduced you to autonomous vehicles and how do you look at it as a business and what are the opportunity areas. Just, I ran into that towards the end and showed you what are the different kind of jobs that's available and said, hey, you should pivot your career. And my formula is start with the technology that or an area of business you're passionate about. We did that. So what am I going to do today when I say path to AV? Path to AV it is career pivot to AV, but this time we are going to go one step further and say, how do you find a path to AV? So I have a refresher video, my favorite one on AVs that you have seen that I'm going to show you. So bear with me. Okay. And as always, I have a slide deck and I'm going to share this slide deck with you once we get started. Okay. 1 second. Here we go. Yep. One sec. So let me show you the video first. Okay. Because my plan is to get started. Okay. For those of you who already heard it, think about this as a refresher. Okay. And I'm in keynote mode, so I'm guessing you're seeing half my screen and not my full screen, right? Because I've not set it to play mode, so bear with me. And here I am, Sudha Jamthe. You're here on the path to AV Career Pivot webinar. So remember this one that you've seen before?
Autonomous vehicles promise to make our roads safe. In reality, they bring connected and electric vehicles which changes urban mobility aspect. I'm Sudha Jamthe. I teach IoT and autonomous vehicle business at Stanford Technology Studies. As a technology futurist, I research Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and autonomous vehicle space. And
I did see some comment. I have to figure out how to look at the comment. Okay. Usha is saying, your excitement to teach autonomous vehicle is contagious and all problems go away when I come to your session. Thank you, Usha. Okay, guys, when I'm actually showing you something, I can't actually see my own, I don't see the chat, so I had to go back, but thank you for that. So I'm just going to continue. Thank you, Usha. So this one actually tells you the 3 areas that you need to focus on.
Autonomous vehicles promise to make our roads safe. In reality, they bring connected and electric vehicles which changes urban mobility aspect. I'm Sudha Jamthe. I teach IoT and autonomous vehicle business at Stanford Technology Studies. As a technology futurist, I research Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and autonomous vehicle space, and enjoy mentoring business professionals build the driverless world. To truly understand autonomous vehicle business,
This is what I want you to get out of this video.
3 core topics. One is autonomous vehicle data. What data is collected in the car? What are the 3 digital twins in the car? And how do you create business value from this data? The second topic is autonomous vehicle business models. Who's going to pay for this car? Is the consumer ownership model going to switch to consumer design and different dealers to a B2B model where a fleet of cars will be bought by a rideshare company like Uber or Lyft? What will benefit your industry? Come learn the business model. The third topic is autonomous vehicle product management. When you think of autonomous vehicle car cognition, it is artificial intelligence, machine learning based product. And the entire tech stack in our phone is going to switch to the car. What is needed to understand customer behavior and to translate this into customer experience so that you build the product? So you learn data in the car, you learn about business model and product management.
Hello, I'm Rich Schaefer. I took Sudha Jamthe's self-driving car course.
Okay. So last week we had Alexander Varga from Volvo who joined us right here, and he talked to us about digital twin and where they have connectivity in the Volvo car and trucks and buses and various data issues that you have, or the cost of data that you have when the data is not moving. And that was a sneak peek to what he would expand on and teach the technology module in one of the online courses, Business of Autonomous Vehicle Data. Okay, so I've been giving access to that video little by little to multiple people because I cannot send bulk emails unless I put you on a mailing list. And Mr. Varga didn't want that to be posted publicly, so I'm just not put it in the archive. I've given it to people who attended the session. So if you missed last week's session and you want a copy of that, as long as you're part of this cohort group, he would be okay with it as my student. So ping me, okay? Okay. So now I'm going to switch back. Am I sharing the screen now? Okay. So now I'm going to speed up a little bit. Keep doing this. Okay, so what are the robotaxis really doing? So we spoke about, hey, to learn autonomous vehicle business, you need to learn these 3 things. And there have been 60 different robotaxis piloting in our area, right? Here in California, I see that. So what is going on? So I'm going to show you another little video. Hope you're able to see this screen. Yeah. Okay.
Say hello to Waymo, the world's most experienced driver. The Waymo driver is what we call our self-driving technology. It has over a decade of real-world experience and has driven millions of miles. With Waymo One, we can make it safer and easier for you to get around, so you can spend more time doing what you love. And with Waymo Via, the same driver with the same deep experience can also deliver your packages or save you a trip to the dry cleaners. Or if you run a business, Waymo Via can help you transport whatever you need, making sure shipments arrive right when they're supposed to. This is the Waymo driver, a driver that's reimagining transportation for all of us.
Okay. Hope you were able to see my shared screen. Yeah. And I've left the video here, guys. Was it? Okay, you cannot see the video. I thought so. Okay. I will just go back to that window. I always do this, guys. Sorry about that. So bear with me. Okay. So what I wanted to show is Now it's becoming like marketing for Waymo. I try to be very brand agnostic. Okay, so I'm going to, since you heard the video, I'm going to show you just a little portion of it, okay? So that you will see what I'm talking about here. So what I wanted to do is, I wanted to show you what are this robotaxis doing. So we have about 60 robotaxis that have been piloting in our area in California. And there are many more around the world. In fact, David Kerrigan is here with us today, and he actually shares my excitement for chasing self-driving cars. So whenever we meet, when he comes to speak to my Stanford Continuing Studies Autonomous Vehicle Business course as a guest speaker, we are actually comparing notes, and we go chasing cars together. So when you're actually looking at a self-driving car, what is happening is the car actually is just looking at you as an object. So I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I wanted to make a point, okay?
Say hello to Waymo, the world's most experienced driver. The Waymo driver is what we call our self-driving technology. It has over a decade of real-world experience and has driven millions of miles. With Waymo One, we can make it safer and easier for you to get around, so you can spend more time doing what you love.
That's how you practice social distancing and go in robotaxi, I guess.
Experience can also deliver your packages or save you a trip to the dry cleaners. Or if you run a business, Waymo Via can help you transport whatever you need, making sure shipments arrive right when they're supposed to. This is the Waymo driver, the driver that's reimagining transportation for all of us.
Okay. So that's what I wanted to show you, to just give a sense of what is possible with autonomous vehicles today when you're sitting in lockdown, practicing social distancing, and talking about how are we going to go to the next next wave of going back to work. And since we've been restricted on movement, we know what transportation or mobility looks like, and whether it is going to be just sharing the road again with the cars, or is there a new opportunity? So one of the things I want you to think about is that, right, when we are going back, what are you going to do, and what does self-driving car world look like? And so we spoke about car cognition and data in the car, and I even mentioned AI in the car and various different job roles. So now those job roles are going to change, and there's going to be new opportunities, right? So that is where I'm going with this whole thing, okay? Okay, so I'm going to go back to my slide deck. So I'm going to speed up from here, because what I've come up with is 5 different things that you can do, okay? So back to sharing, okay? And I will come back and get out and answer your questions, okay? So I'm going back to my slide, and if you think about the fundamental reason why the autonomous vehicle was created was to solve real problems of accidents, traffic, the cost from just parking the car and the car ownership, and not just car, but also trucks, right? But what problem can an autonomous vehicle solve for us today? So obviously you got a clue. You can use the chat window by the side and type your suggestions. And I see Usha in here, so maybe Usha has seen the Waymo robotaxi out there. So Waymo is the only company which has actually started giving out robotaxi as a service for a small population, and they're expanding. So Usha is in that lucky group in Arizona. So share your ideas. What problem can an autonomous vehicle solve for us today? And obviously you got some clue from the conversation that you saw in the Waymo video, okay? Okay, so what I want to tell you is, if you are going to go on a path to pivot to the autonomous vehicle, what are your possibilities? So one example we covered a few weeks back is how Mayo Clinic is using autonomous trucks to transport the COVID test kits to their own clinic, right? From the lab to the clinic. And this was in Florida, and Usha was saying it is also in Arizona. So here this was running, saying, hey, and there are seats in there. Look at that. So it was running, the vehicle was set up to be running to transport people, maybe to the train station. And here they repurposed it. And we discussed this. If you will have access to all the past archives, so you should go back and look at it, because we spoke about how there are, what does it take, right? That yes, there is car cognition, the car has to drive itself, but somebody did the deal with Mayo Clinic. Somebody innovated in a healthcare setting, thinking they will use autonomous vehicles. In fact, I had a student called Gayatri who had taken one of my autonomous vehicle course at Stanford, and she came from healthcare, and she said, I don't know what we will do with AVs, but it looks very exciting, so I just want to attend this class with an open mind. So I don't know whether we could have comprehended that we would be, having a deadly virus being shipped without a human being infected in this setting out into the future. So if you have any suggestions, you can, type in the chat window. You're welcome to do that. Yeah. And I wanted to see whether I can put it in a different mode where everybody can see each other. Yeah. Okay. So going back to my deck. So I have put this out on social media. You might have seen it, that I've created this with a lovely team of people to give you a path to autonomous vehicles. And we'll talk about that a little bit later if you're interested. Okay. So we have the masterclass, which is the foundation. And then there is the data class. These are the only two classes I have available. In fact, one of the things I had told you a couple of weeks back is that you'll have a third course, AIX, which I usually offer. It's not available right now. After talking to you, after working with Mr. Varga, I've actually added one more course, which is called AI in the car, and I don't have that available. I have the first two classes only available because it's a foundation piece. And then I will give you the AI in the car once people have taken the data in the car course. And in the data in the car course, you're going to learn to build the digital twins. And then in AI, you would take that and say, okay, now we have the data, we're going to run predictive models. What kind of use cases, what can you do? So that's the piece. But what I wanted to iterate here is that you would have the option to, not just with my class. If this is your vision of going to the AV space, what you need is you need the foundation knowledge about all the stuff that we saw in the video, right? And then additional to that, to actually truly pivot your career to make the transition, you need the networking. So that's why I bring in a lot of speakers, and they love meeting my class. In fact, David came in as a speaker to my class, and now he's going to teach the AV masterclass with me. And then once you're finished doing this, you're going to have the opportunity to do a capstone project to work with real industry. So with that, I'm going to move forward. Okay, so the path to AV is finally about defining what is this AV business. And like the Mayo Clinic example, you look at it and say, okay, this could solve a fundamental problem, and I'm sitting in healthcare, can I do this? Or you could define that, and it is very specific to you. And I'm not doing this as pep talk. It sounds like it when I say you define it, and that's what is AV business, because it is not yet shaped. It was created saying we are going to run robotaxis, and there will be companies who will offer robotaxis, but not today, right? So now when things have changed and there are different problems, then it makes sense to think about what kind of problems can we solve for. And if you remember that Waymo video, they were talking about cargo delivery, right? And in fact, there is a company called Via, which is a startup which makes a vehicle that transports 12 people, similar to the Mayo Clinic vehicle that we saw. And they have deals with about 15 different cities in US. And the cities pay for the part of the ride, and the consumer pays for some portion of the ride. And they went on this mission to replace buses. And that looks like a Via partnership for me. And in fact, Mercedes-Benz had invested in VIA and spoke about that in our class. So I'm going to stop the sharing since I see a comment or question. Okay, so Usha is saying, in Spain, a taxi driver gave free rides to people who wanted to be tested for COVID when they had some symptoms, when they got admitted. In such a scenario, the driver could be, could be getting infected, right? He's putting, or he or her is putting themselves to risk, and AV could help take people. So now the same thing, now we can say, now when we open up, we could have robo-taxis actually doing that. And part of the, if you are working in one of those companies which are running these 60 pilots and you think you're ready, I think Waymo is the one which, as a Google self-driving car, they were driving around for so many years, right? They were driving for 8 years before this actually, became a reality, and we started thinking about it as a business a couple of years back. And remember, they had said we've run millions of miles. So how many miles have people run, and how many miles have they run without before any disengagement? How many disengagements has happened within the rides are all metrics that's shared. And as a business, I would say that is not the right metric in terms of disengagement metric. I'm happy to talk about that offline. In fact, one of the things we are going to do today is every time when I start this, we barely scratch the surface, and then we're out of time. So in another 35 minutes, we'll wrap up here, and then David and I are going to head to LinkedIn, and in there we are going to talk to you and as a continuation chat as path to AV, and then any resources we share here, we'll share the link, have a discussion. Some of my students are going to come in, so you get a sense of what is the reality. My goal is to have that conversation, the broader network, but also network. Remember the piece, knowledge, then the network, then the experience. So I want to actually deliver on the network piece and give you that. So that's where we are going to go. So I'm going to go back. So we will visit this topic of what does defining AV actually means, because you are going to define that, and it's going to be very specific to you. So fantastic idea. What Usha was saying was about how you could actually have people transported, right? Okay. Okay, now I've got the chat window. I figured out how to keep it up right here so I can see you guys without jumping in and out. So thank you guys. Thank you for bearing with me to do that. So here is a service called Amazon Key. And what Amazon does is Amazon is focused on commerce. And they said, we have to deliver shipments. And if you're not home, we'll deliver it in a car. It is not going to work today. We are not in the office. And we are getting tons of delivery. We are sitting at home. So the problem they're trying to solve for, at least for the time being, when we are in lockdown, does not apply. But look at this Amazon Key example. They were trying to solve for a problem that existed in the past, right? So again, one of my past colleagues from eBay was involved in actually building this Amazon Key as a product. Like she was a product manager. So you think about the customer experience. So this, what they did is they did a partnership with Volvo and one more brand, I don't remember which one. And they had to give them permission to access the car to remotely open it. So on one end, they have an app that the user will access and give permission for the delivery person. So they can say, okay, you can open the car. But the car also has to give permission to open the control. So they did this as a partnership. So think about this. This is an example of what they did in the past, right? That made sense at that point, okay? So if you are this person working on Amazon Key delivery, not the delivery person, but the PM working on it, or the engineer working on it, or Amazon business person working on it, how will you change that today? How will you change that product today? I want you to think about it. And I can come back to it if you have any comments, because I'm not seeing any comments. I'm going to move forward. But if you're one of the exercises I would recommend you do when you're thinking about a path to AV, especially if you're not in that space and you think I'm completely outside, you would need to create transferable skills from where you come from. And one way of doing that is you take an existing product that is in the AV space and say, okay, like Usha was saying, there's robotaxis, but somebody could run a robotaxi that can give a ride for people, right, who have to go to the hospital for testing. And so you could actually look at a product like that and say, okay, that is innovative thinking. That's the first step, right? Or you take an existing product and say, what changes? Now you have to think about, why would you change that and how would you do that? What is involved in designing that experience, in procuring that data, creating that partnership, the product management of it, and what technology is needed, and are there regulation issues that would come in the way? So if a taxi driver, a taxi company buys a fleet of robotaxis and say, we're going to run fleet of robotaxi, we will drop people for testing, are there any liability issues and things they would face, or are there any business risk? Is there any regulation? So if an exercise, we could do this as an exercise, if you like, another time. Thinking about it would be really good, and then that would help you figure out what you bring to the table from your existing experience. So again, when I say you define autonomous vehicles, I broadly talk about this whole connected car becoming autonomous, because this is a model from Mercedes-Benz about the car first becoming connected, because the car sees the road using data and communicates and sends the data to the cloud, and it communicates V2V with other cars, or V2X with infrastructure. So it needs to be connected. So the connected car is what Alexander Varga was showing the digital twin for. And then the shared mobility is the business model today. And now when we go back, if we want to keep social distancing, shared is not an option. What is going to happen? Because that has been a big driver. And then it has to be electric or not go fill gas. And I have actually seen our autonomous vehicles pilots, go fill gas here in California. It's very funny, but they need to be sustainable. So this model of case, connected, autonomous, shared, electric. So you could actually, work in any of these areas. So what does the business need? One second. What does the business need to do today, right? Think about that. So that is the exercise I was telling you to go through. So now I'm going to zip through 5 different things that the businesses need, right, to get to autonomous, to get us autonomous vehicles. So, and as you're listening to these 5 things, think about this again. Think about what background you come from, what skill you come from, what you can do. So one is, there's a lot of articles these days, and it's all talking about, yes, robotaxis or autonomous vehicles can help us during this time of keeping social distancing when we get back to work. So, and they're always talking about technology. So car cognition to get us to level 5, they're all talking about it. So if that's your thing, you can go work in it, right? You need a lot of data management, or you figure out how do you monetize the data, because the 3 digital twins are the vehicle one, the user one, and the environment are the 3 digital twins. So that could be your thing, and what Mr. Varga was talking, and we will discuss more in the business of AV data course, right? So that's a very, very big piece. So even if you're working with big data in a oil company or somewhere else, right, all of that would be useful, right, for you to actually come into this, right? Think about that experience, this whole, if you are focused on efficacy of data and managing that. So I see a question: what is the main purpose of Amazon key delivery inside of one's home? How privacy is handled? So Amazon key, what they do is, you might not be home, and if they leave the package gets stolen, and at least people complain that they didn't get the package. So Amazon was losing money on that, and so Amazon decided that they created this key, Amazon key product. This was before the Ring acquisition, where they now it's a doorbell that you can actually ring, and it has the remote app thing. So they came up with this Amazon key. So they said, we'll deliver the package. Essentially, you're giving them permission to open your home, and the delivery person leaves the package, and you can capture everything in a video, or you can see this remotely using the app. And so, your delivery comes through. They took that one step further, And they said, okay, now if you partner with car companies, we don't need to deliver it to your home. We can deliver it to your office. We can deliver it to you while you're in a shopping mall. You tell us where you are location wise. We'll track your location and we'll deliver it. So that is how they did it, and privacy is out the window, I would say, because the customer is giving permission to open their house. And many of you don't know, there was another one that Walmart had come up with, a pilot saying, we will open the door and we will actually deliver and bring and stock your items in the fridge. It ran for a very short period, and around the same time Amazon was doing this delivery to the car. So that did not get too much traction, so we didn't hear much about it, and that's what happened. So okay, hey, you guys didn't tell me that you could not see the full screen. So moving on. So one thing is whether it is, what do we need? We are talking about what do we need to get to for the autonomous vehicles to solve a business today. So to become a viable business for autonomous vehicle, they need the technology, which everybody is writing about. We are not at level 5. In fact, many companies here in Silicon Valley are focused on just building that tech, saying, okay, once we get that, then we build IP, right? So, and they want to make that the foundation piece, but they need to adopt, right? Usha is commenting on the Amazon key, so I'm going to continue on the conversation later offline, Usha, on that Amazon key, but good thinking. So one is we need the technology piece, and I will talk to you guys offline. If I'm not answering your question and I'm saying table it, you can always talk to me. And today we have the option to talk on LinkedIn, remember that. So we'll continue. And I'll pick up the Amazon key discussion, Usha, it looks like a big one. Okay, so car cognition getting to level 5 is one. Data management or monetization are two different things, right? What are the business model, business drivers? How are we going to create disintermediation using data? The third is testing in real roads. There is this thing called Catalonia Living Lab. We have a bunch of these test beds here also, but I wanted to give you, more global examples. Basically, this whole environment for the car to drive autonomously, it needs to test, and everything cannot be just in front of living people in the middle of cities. So we have this huge block of land where the cars will run autonomously and they will test. And this is one of those test beds in Catalonia, in Barcelona area, and it's called the Living Lab. So if you look at Catalonia Living Lab is their URL, you can see opportunities there. Okay. So again, think about it while I'm talking about getting to the technology, managing the data, doing the testing, how much of project management and program management is needed if you are actually, deploying one of these vehicles. If they are all in pilots today, so what is needed? How would you actually do the AI management when the car has the cognition technology and you're bringing it as a piece of software, putting in the car, run a version, and then it tests, finds some bugs, fixes it. How does it go back, right? The fourth piece is how do you build the business ecosystem? Because the thing with every connected product, IoT, and especially with autonomous vehicles is no one company, the car companies are buying technology companies, or they're investing in technology companies, they're partnering. There's a lot of partnerships and breakups that happens, over the years, in and out, right? How do you build that ecosystem? What is the value? If your job is as a BD professional, business development, and I'm not just saying sales here, right? Because business development is about creativity and sales and creating the right deal that works for everybody, right? And of course, your network and ingenuity to make that happen and be able to make contracts. In fact, Waymo has a couple jobs in this space on business development. They have this head of business development, they have a business development manager, and in fact, they have one job like that, and they have one trucking business development manager, because they showed the truck in the picture. Who's going to make the deal with the trucking company? Who's going to do the deal with the OEMs? And it's not just, think about it, just not the existing automotive players. There's a lot more. So that's the fourth piece, right? And then the final one I would say is, how do you do product management? How do you create the design experience? And I again given this example just because it's a product we can visually see here, but how do you create that experience is the other piece. So I want to pause for a minute. So I've given you the 5 areas that I think are needed, I believe are needed for us to get autonomous vehicle to work, function as a business. So that, again, in the spirit of this conversation today, I'm sharing that to get you thinking about that. And then there is one important topic called applied AI, which is, all this is AI, it's tech, but how does it actually functionally work? So the people who are actually working on this are, I'm very proud of my students, everybody knows that. So I am going to show you one of my students for real. So you must have seen, and I know I got out of the screen, guys, it's deliberate. So one of my students, Rene Mana, is an AV operator. So I was talking about how do you run the model and come back and do the version control and management. And the AV operator is a cool job. Rene Mana has worked in a couple companies doing AV management, right, as an AV operator, right? And then I have 2 more of my students. You must have met Emma if you've taken any of my previous classes. She's a product manager in the data space. And then I have Mamta. She's actually a very senior product leader. It's very hard to catch her time, but she's very passionate about this topic of applied AI. And why am I saying that? Because Mamta decided to stop by, and I'm seeing her here. Hello, Mamta. First, I'm going to allow you to speak, and then
hello, I'm here.
Screen, yeah. You are. So you can tell us, if you can spend like 5 minutes and tell us about applied AI and your project in that space, that would be fabulous. I'm just going to make sure that.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't see your video. Is that intentional, Mamta?
No. Let me see where to turn on the video in the webinar.
Okay. I'm going to promote you to panelists so that you'll have the full access if you want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, now I see the video link. Okay.
So
can you see me?
Yes. You look fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
So we have the webinar talking about the paths to autonomous vehicles, not just the technology and the business, but how do we make the pivot? What is needed? So I saw you, maybe you got a glimpse of what I was.
Yes, in the last one. No, and this is a perfect segue. What you are doing and how you're teaching is just amazing, because that's really is a good segue into what I'm trying to venture into, and just the topic that you just mentioned about applications of AI. So apart from autonomous vehicle, the other ways, AI lends itself as in speech recognition, Alexa and Siri, who doesn't know about it? Document extraction. This had become off late one of my other favorite passion about application of AI on how do you, let's take a law example. There are all these books and proceedings and rulings in PDFs. AI can now, read through those documents and digitize it, which is a huge step forward for that industry. And even for banks, they have all these forms and procedures all written in documents. So AI, like a powerful application of AI, is in that space as well. And then really the essence becomes as you can find using AI patterns and data, which computer and a machine which has learned through machine learning, they will do so much more efficiently than ever a human eye could do. So yeah, applications of AI is just too many. And then thanks to them.
So I want to pause for 1 second. Is the concept of application applied AI is about finding use cases of AI, or is it more than that?
Finding use cases of AI and then tweaking it to create even new, solutions. It's not always just addressing doing something better. It can also be creating new opportunity, and that's really where the innovation came about. And just your AV vehicle. So nobody knew what AI could do, but now, or there will be an autonomous vehicle. So it is both. It's one, the applying and then creating new scenarios out of it. And that's actually a very good segue into what I'm going to offer over the summer. And I'll go through what it is all about. So I'm launching a 6-week summer program. It is part-time, thrice a week. It is targeted to high school students and above. Even college, some college graduates can also attend. And the name of the course is Data Science and Applied Machine Learning. It's project-based learning where students in high school and above will learn the whole process of data science and applied machine learning. And I'll get into the applied portion in a little bit. So what we will do in these 6 weeks courses, we will have tons of real world examples. And the process that we will focus on in this real world example is defining the problem statement, data collection, like where do you find these publicly available data sets? How do you clean the data? The exploratory data analysis, once you have the data, what part of the data is important, what is not important, how do you cut through the noise from the data, and then get into feature selection, feature engineering. And I know for those of you who are familiar with a little bit of machine learning and all, feature engineering is really the applied machine learning part of it, because once you know the data, you will say, okay, my data is not good enough to tell me or predict me something. Let me see if I can create another variable from that data that will be more of a predictor. And I know some of it may not be ringing a bell, but that's the part of the course. Feature selection, and then training a model using an existing algorithm to create a prediction. And what some of these projects could be is, let's say, taxi trip duration prediction, how long like Uber takes from point A to point B. We'll have some sample data sets for that. Predicting sales of an individual items and inventory. It's a very popular applied machine learning problem. Customer churn prediction is extremely popular with banks. They want to know which banking customers could switch banks or transfer their balances to another bank. These are all really machine learning problems. And when I say I will be doing applied machine learning, this is where the heart of the course is. In this course, the students are not going to write the algorithms that turns into a model. There are tons and tons of algorithms out there now. In fact, machine learning algorithms are commoditized product. Google, Amazon, and even open source libraries in R, that's the language I'm using, the Carrot package, or scikit-learn in Python. All these packages have all these libraries that comes with built-in algorithm. So writing those algorithms is really machine learning. Taking those algorithms and fine-tuning it and training it on your data set to create a model is the application of machine learning. So in this course, I will show kids how do you take one of those existing algorithm, train it on your data, and create a model. So that becomes the application. And the final thing really I want to say is, this is just like, do you want to build the car, or do you want to customize and fine tune and put all the accessories and create the car to train it to be how you want it to be? Loosely. So we are not in the process of building the car. We are in the process of driving and customizing the car.
So would that be product management? Because
so yes, so this is actually, I'm starting it with high school students, but after this session, I'm launching a more advanced version of the same curriculum, which will become data science and applied machine learning for product management.
Yep.
I am starting it with high schools. And by the way, if you're interested, or if you have kids or friends and family who'll be interested, go to this website, realworldai.co. It is .co. .co. Once again, it's realworldai.co. And as the name suggests, it's like we have machine learning, we have AI. How do we make it real world? How do you make it real? How do you actually apply it? So go to realworldai.co. This Sunday at 4 p.m. I'm doing an info session on this summer program. And on my website, you'll get the Zoom link and also information at this Sunday at 4 p.m.
So thank you, Mamta. I will share that with the class here. And
Thank you.
we are going to continue our LinkedIn chat after this session today. So I'll be sure to tag you and you can come and share the link
Thank
also.
you. Yeah.
And we can tell high school students, because they're lucky to get started right now.
You know, I am starting it just 30 seconds as I have felt after going through this and doing it in my workplace over again, the younger we catch them, because this is like dance, like to be a perfect dancer, you need to start like 8 years early. That is the same with data. The younger you get that data-driven mindset, you're just set for life. It's not just data science, machine learning. That data-driven mindset for our students is just so important. Thank
you. I have also seen you. I've also seen you through the transition, right? I think you took my IoT class, right? You took my IoT class, right? Not my AV class.
And I took your IoT class. Yes, that was fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. So you were working in retail. Tell me.
So of course, we worked together at PayPal and then eBay. And even prior to eBay and PayPal, I was with the company in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is Fry Incorporated, which was a retail commerce, open commerce software developer. Then I went to work at Kohl's. That's where my AI journey began 5 years ago. Launched their AI program at Kohl's Digital Innovation. Tons of AI experiences are in place at Kohl's. Then I went over to HPE, where I did the whole AI product management stack from a hardware point of view, just so that I understood the whole stack, that the last mile is application of AI, but I really wanted to get to see under the hood. So it's not a black box. So that's why, yeah.
Good.
So hope to see some of you guys on realworldai.co to know more about the program, spread the word. Thanks, Sudha.
Thank you so much, Mamta.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so I'm going to go back. Okay, so I'm always proud of, bringing my students back when they do amazing things. So Mamta is a product manager who has grown to be a product leader, and so AI product management is one such role. And you have that in the AV space, in urban mobility, in the car. It could be in retail while you're working with the car in some form. There's so many different opportunities. So I just wanted to make sure you got that. So I wanted to pause back and see whether, before we go back to the deck, who remembers the 5 areas where we need to work on for autonomous vehicles, for them to work? I wanted to, and I tell you guys, this is a webinar, so I'm going to ask you a quiz. Yeah, tell me what you think are the 5 areas. What you remember as the 5 areas. And Mamta spoke about data, so I'm going back, if you remember that. So we had car cognition, that's the technology piece, and data management, monetization. In fact, I was saying we are going to have the AV foundation course, then we are going to have the business of AV course, and then there's going to be the AI in the car course. I have a separate AI course that I teach at Stanford, so I'm going to bring the car version of it, which is some of the stuff that Mamta was saying, which is how to manage the data and create the experience. And then there's the experience version, AIX course. So the bundle, that package, I think, is the whole path to get to autonomous vehicles. But you don't need to wait to get all of it, because you need to think about examples out there and see, okay, how can I apply my experience? Can I help in the testing, program management? Can I build, in business development? Build an ecosystem? Or am I a designer? And I see one of my students, Consuela, right here, right? She took my AIX course and ended up working with voice. She already has experience designing AR, augmented reality experiences. So how do you bring those to the car? Or how do you create the whole product experience in a partnership with Amazon or something like this, right? How do you create that experience? So those are the 5 elements. Okay, so what are the hottest jobs? I usually go to this with all my webinars. So I wanted to pause and see if anybody had questions, comments, observations. Has anything been inspiring for you that you feel like, okay, now I feel like I could pivot to this space and I have a path? Talk to us. David and I are going to continue this conversation on LinkedIn. So please talk to us. In fact, I think it's a shared link on my LinkedIn profile where I put a little video, and from there we are just going to chat below that link. So you could find that on my LinkedIn, or if you go to Driverless World School where you came from, there is a live stream lessons which has the link. So if you go to live stream lesson, it's one of those free lessons. You don't need to sign up. You can actually go to that page and see the link for the LinkedIn. You'll see the recording of today's session in there also, because that's where I run my YouTube link. Okay. So where are the hottest jobs? Let's go. Okay. So there's AI in the car, in-car experience, product management, AIxDesign, partnerships. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can do that, right? So, and there's a lot more. If you're a business, you could do business model development. You could be an innovation manager. You could do, you could focus on AI ethics. In fact, AI ethics is the hottest area of growth of jobs in AI, because there's so much possible with the data, right? And Mamta was saying that, we should start teaching kids right from when they are middle school and high schoolers to actually work with data. And the average person did not learn that. So that means they don't know what to do with data, and they don't do all the right things. So we have a bunch of jobs for us now to be AI ethicists, right? Okay. So who works in these jobs, right? In these companies, what kind of jobs happen in these companies? Okay, so I was going to give this walkthrough if you wanted an example of AI in the car, but I think, Mamta covered it, and I can see some comments. People are happy with it. So this is my favorite slide I show to show all the different data in the car that is driving AI in the car, right? You met my student Mamta. And I'm going to tag her. So if you want to connect with her and go check her course, when she's offering this for high school students, maybe you can make referrals today. And she said she's okay with, college students or some others joining in. So I'm going to go sit and listen on that class. Hopefully we won't have too many adults just taking over. We'll actually send referrals to kids. Okay, so how do you do the pivot? So my formula recommendation is, we've covered these topics, right? We spoke about the AV business and the 5 areas that is needed. What is applied AI, which leads to product management, and what are the hot jobs? So my formula is, you pick an area of technology or an area of business that you're passionate about, learn all possible use cases. And another thing I added today is, look at an example that is out there in AV space and see, go through this exercise of what would you do? In fact, when I moved to IoT space, one of the things I did is I looked at different IoT. I looked at the alarm system at home and said, okay, if I were the product manager for this, how would I design this experience? How would I collect technology? How would I create that interface? And what else is needed? That made me realize the gaps that I had in my own learning that I needed to go learn, and also to go realize that it's not a whole new world. I can bring some of the skills that I have from my past experience. So that's a very good exercise. So also, if you get passionate about one area, I would say go deeper, see who's doing what, understand the ecosystem, what are the issues, right? And then the important thing is, I find many people who are in the space, but they don't speak with the right lingo, right? So if you listen in to some of these, if you network with people, that's why I bring a lot of speakers, because the choice of words of how they say, they show the confidence, is how you get in. It's not, when you're an outsider. I've been through a lot of transitions in my own career, where I came from engineering, I did product management, I did product marketing for a little bit. Then I worked in developer network. I was an entrepreneur where I had to do all the jobs that I could not hire for, though I had, a decent team. I think I did real marketing there for a little bit, but in my heart, I'm more a product manager. And then I worked in analytics. So every time I made a move, I always felt like an imposter, because I was not an analyst all my life. I was not a pure product manager, because I didn't continue to stay on only in product management. So every time, it's easy to feel that way. So understanding the ecosystem and the lingo will help you figure that out. And then finally, I think you will get the confidence only when you do a project. So that's why with the AV data course, what we're going to do is, with the AV masterclass course, we just say, okay, come in, listen. If you come in live, it's better. if you cannot attend all 6 class live, I would not recommend you taking this course for this cohort. If you're going to miss one class, maybe you can come and look at the archive, because you would have access to the archive for live. But the live class is where you would have the interaction with the other classmates, and I'm a very big believer that you learn from your fellow classmates. So with that, I want to go show you one piece, which is what I was showing earlier, and then I didn't go towards that because I'd shown multiple videos. I didn't want to show one more video at that point. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen again. So I hope this was useful. Give me feedback, because I want to help you pivot your career. I just don't want to give you the spiel of this is all is happening in data in AV space, or in here are the business models, and then go away. Especially if you've taken my class before, and if you're any of my classes, right? If you're looking to pivot to this space, I want to guide you and help you. And once you're my student, I like to help you all the times, to make your journey successful. I find that more fulfilling than any other job that I've done in my past. So let me go show you this one video. Okay, I think I have a version of that kept somewhere. So this is actually, this is the video that I have on LinkedIn. So you can recognize my, where you can come join me. And let me get out of this. And I'm going to show you that. Some of you might have seen it, so bear with me. Okay. And I'm not a marketing person, guys. I sound salesy when I'm very excited about things. So I was very proud of myself, because
there are so many opportunities in autonomous vehicles
end-to-end.
Now, here in 2020, while we are all in the middle of this pandemic and practicing social distancing. Seeing articles about, are we there yet? Or what happened to self-driving cars? And the focus is always on technology and getting to level 5.
That's the Apple
Car technology, about car cognition. There is regulation, business drivers, business models, and it doesn't have to be a robotaxi. Autonomous vehicles could do cargo delivery, and they are doing cargo delivery. Autonomous robots sweeping the retail floors to keep it clean, checking for inventory, to manage the supply chain. And there's autonomous vehicles in agriculture and mining in so many places. So the business model, the business application, it's not just going to happen by building the technology or just by marketing. It's a whole spectrum of opportunities and learning that has to happen. So I'm launching Paths to AV as a series of courses. I'm bringing my Stanford Continuing Studies Autonomous Vehicle Bootcamp and Business of Self-Driving Car combined into this AV Masterclass that David Kerrigan is going to teach with me. And my favorite topic of AV data is available as a business of autonomous vehicle data. And we're going to go deeper into the technology to show you how to build a digital twin in the car. That's coming from Alexander.
Okay. This is a fancy thing I did. So I have to.
Varga from Volvo. If you want a sneak peek of the digital twin in the car that Alexander Varga did, just let me know on Wednesday, right after our weekly Wednesday, right here on LinkedIn. David Kerrigan and I will answer your questions. Join us for a chat. Where we are in AV, what is the new opportunities, what industries are impacted, what reality has shifted, and where are the jobs, what can you do, what are different roles, what is needed to make the transition, how can you bring your transferable skills from many industries, and what is the reality of AV and when are we going to get to it? All you have to do is type a comment or add a question. If you're one of my students watching this and you've taken my AV business bootcamp, jump in and tell us what you're working on, tell us what the reality is. I'm so excited to get started on this new phase of AV to help you pivot to AV. Thank you so much and see you soon.
Okay, people, with that, I'm going to wrap up and we can head out to LinkedIn. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I will see you on LinkedIn. We can continue on. And if you can join live next hour, I'm going to be on LinkedIn with David, and we'll be chatting and answering questions. And some of my students will come. And think of this as your networking opportunity. And if you can't come live, come anytime through the day. You can add a comment. Thank you. Thank you. You can come anytime, and you can actually add a comment, tag a friend, ask a question, and continue on, and hope you'll benefit from that thread. So with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, everybody.